A couple of things actually to start off with. I think Bilal is a young upcoming new writer, so I've read some of his work, and he was working with us in the capacity of digital head and looking after digital stuff, but obviously had a yearning for writing. And I get very enticed and excited by young talent which goes out in the world and writes a book, etc. And so that was one part. Second was also the coming together of a platform like Netflix, which would give opportunity to younger ones, maybe before their time also, which is a good thing, because if you kept waiting for a writer of his caliber to wait for that film or a book to turn into a film, it takes a little time. There are gaps between trying to get a film on floor. Not to say that the shows or the films we do for Netflix are any smaller, but also there's an openness on that platform that you can do push the envelope a little more. There is less restrictions, and sometimes some stories require more character driven story line than plot driven. So I think Bilal had that hold on his book. There were some really interesting characters, and then to get that amalgamated with Netflix was very, very exciting for me, and I thought it will be exciting for him to get into this venture. It's wonderful, so when we do normal business, I think the best of films that we released from India managed to hit about 70 countries globally, including India. So, with Netflix, if you have access to 190 countries, and even if you consider that if 90 of them don't watch it, 100 watch it, it's a bigger market. And I think it's a step for every Indian through Netflix and OTT platforms that, we are able to showcase our cinema, our storytelling to a bigger audience. Otherwise, because of the lack of language understood in Hindi all around the world, I think we always had the paucity of that kind of leverage for our product. But now we have that, and I think that's quite amazing. Sometimes a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm working in an OTT platform. It's a come down from films." But if you were just to look at a creative person who wants a bigger audience, I think it's a large, huge, bigger audience than even, say, Indian cinema or otherwise. So I think, people have to look at it that way, that a performer or a creative person is going and putting his thing out there in the world, and the good thing is somehow language is no longer a barrier. I think that's what Netflix has achieved very well. Actually, they've got us hooked on to reading subtitles of even English films now, which is rather silly now, because I become so used to reading subtitles. I'm like sometimes watching an English film and I'm reading the subtitles in English because I've become so used to watching other languages on Netflix. He's a tough guy, and I think you don't the way Bilal, Mayank and Gaurav and the whole team actually, even Ribu and all the director, I think they saw the character as a little unassuming, not in your face, tough macho, works with his mind, plus there is obviously a physical ability of an action hero. And I think that mix perfectly fits Imran. I think he's a wonderful actor, and I like his zone of being extremely underplayed and easy when he does it. One can tend to, in a conspiracy or a thriller, play act a lot more, but I think the ease with which he could have played it, which he's done in the series, plus, that if you were really to look at intelligence agency guys and girls, they don't seem how we normally depict them, like James Bond, right? So Imran can do the tough stuff, which not very many people have seen him do. In this, he's doing a lot of action and he's trained for it and built his body for it. But beyond that, the other parts of it, where the intelligence should come across, I think he looks like an intelligent actor. So I think that mix was very important. And then, when I think Bilal and Gaurav and everyone went up to him and asked him to do it, I think he was very keen. So far it seems he seems to have really enjoyed it, so I hope everybody likes it too. So just as a joke to take Imran, I think one way to look at it is to say we wanted to turn a serial kisser into a serial kicker, ass kicker if you allow this, because he plays a tough role. And also yeah, I mean, there's a whole again, I'm not supposed to give it, but there is an emotional relationship reason also for him traveling through all this, the action thriller part of it. So I think it's a great mix to have Imran, because I think he rides both the boats equally well. Action has always been, I think, a little less of, I mean, intelligent action or smart way of telling an action thriller. We don't do that. We normally do an over-the-top action film also. It's really nice when you have someone like Netflix backing you, giving you the budgets to perhaps even push. We're watching it on television. Normally the budgets are not so good to push the envelope for action. So I think that aspect, that we have enough budgets to kind of push that part, will make it cinematically really nice. And hopefully the action is nice. It's good action. It's got shooting, it's got beating up, it's got bombs, it's got blowing up things and stuff. But I think the inherent quality is the relationship angle that permeates this whole action drama, so to say. So yeah, hopefully I think it's a great learning experience for all of us. And if we get another chance to do it, we'd make it even better and nicer, inshallah. Like I said, it's a guy who's got a past, and he needs to go back in his past to make sure that his present is a little better, or perhaps even worse. Of course, the cast is led by Imran, and the story kind of moves with that character. But there's some very interesting characters that have been written, especially for the ladies also. There's Shobita and Kirti playing a very important role. There's Jaideep, Soham, and Vineet. Vineet, I think, has done a marvelous job in the series. When the story was being narrated to me, when Bilal had written, I really thought that if that role comes out interesting, it would kind of give an amazing balance to the story. Sometimes, of course, there's an antagonist and the bad guys, but this interaction between what Vineet does and Imran does is also very interesting. And all of them have kind of, they all look like intelligence agents, very, very nicely. And I think the director and Ribu has kind of brought them all together. Also, I think some of the shooting has to be done extremely fast. I mean, this is a technical thing, but the way locations and timings and shot in Ladakh, Rajasthan, sometimes in areas and lighting times where you need to hurry it up. And I think Ribu as a director has been able to capture that a lot. So like I was saying, if we get another opportunity, I think this has been a learning thing, and hopefully we'll present something interesting for the audience in India. I think the whole story is about, if I may, about the Bard himself, or the character that Imran plays in the series. I think it's a person who's lost himself somewhere along the line. Of course, it's an action series. Of course, it's a thriller and conspiracy and stuff like that, and intelligence agencies, and set in Balochistan, and politically also extremely well written by Bilal and Hussain Saab. They've kind of brought some stuff which I didn't know much about, to be honest, and then you learn from it if you pay attention. But I think overall the story is about a person who's lost his way and kind of taken a backseat in life, and an opportunity comes to him where he feels, rightly or wrongly, we don't know, I'm giving away no spoilers, that he can right that wrong, maybe give it another shot, maybe have a little more positive outcome out of what went wrong at a certain stage in his life. So it's his journey back into time. And when I say time, not in like a science fiction way in the past, but journey into same places that he wanted to move away from, to perhaps find some kind of closure to what he thinks went wrong in his life. So the story is extremely intricately written by Bilal, of course, and Mayank. So they've, I don't know, the nice part of the series is also, I think, the character that Imran plays in the series. I think that it sounds very spoken. It's not dialogue heavy. It's not trying, because sometimes Hindi and all of us in films, we tend to write dialogue bazi. So I like the ease with which a lot of intricate things are conveyed in the series. I think that also makes it a little more appealing to regular audience. So it is about Balochistan, it is about politics, it's about conspiracies and between nations, but I think somewhere it becomes easier because it's very spoken and very easily said. Rightly or wrongly, we don't know, I'm giving away no spoilers, that he can right that wrong, maybe give it another shot, maybe have a little more positive outcome out of what went wrong at a certain stage in his life. So it's his journey back into time, and when I say time, not in like a science fiction way in the past, but journey into same places that he wanted to move away from, to perhaps find some kind of closure to what he thinks went wrong in his life. So the story is extremely intricately written by Bilal, of course, and Mayank. So they've toughed, I don't know, the nice part of the series is also, I think, that it sounds very spoken. It's not dialogue heavy. It's not trying, because sometimes Hindi and all of us in films, we tend to write dialogue bazi. So I like the ease with which a lot of intricate things are conveyed in the series. I think that also makes it a little more appealing to regular audience. So it is about Balochistan, it is about politics, it's about conspiracies and between nations, but I think somewhere it becomes easier because it's very spoken and very easily said.